Israel and Egypt signed a peace treaty in 1979, but in 1981, Egypt's president Anwar Sadat was assassinated by fellow Egyptians. They were angry that Sadat made peace with Israel. In 1982, the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, attacked towns in northern Israel from Lebanon, setting off what became known as the First Lebanon War. In response, Israel struck back, pushing PLO forces into northern Lebanon. Syria expelled PLO chairman Yasser Arafat and the group's leadership to Tunisia. But soon after that came the first Palestinian uprising, the Intifada. It means shaking off. Tensions had been building in the West Bank and Gaza. Starting with local demonstrations against Israel, the uprising quickly grew and turned violent. Most of the violence took place in the West Bank. The Israeli army responded. Palestinians saw the Intifada as a grassroots, non-violent response to Israeli control. They accused the Israeli army of overreacting. Israelis pointed to the guns, Molotov cocktails, and other weapons supplied by the PLO and used against Israeli soldiers and civilians. As a statement of their own nationalism, on November 15, 1988, the Palestinians declared independence. With their leadership in exile and no territorial sovereignty, the Palestinians continued the Intifada against Israel. Then, in 1993, Israeli and Palestinian representatives met in Oslo, Norway. They approved an interim agreement called the Declaration of Principles, which was intended to lead to a lasting peace. In addition, the two parties exchanged letters of mutual recognition. For the first time, Palestinians recognized Israel and agreed to renounce terrorism, and Israel recognized the Palestinians' national aspirations and the PLO as the legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. The Declaration of Principles, often called the Oslo Accords, included a plan for the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza to start to govern themselves over the next 5 years, while the parties negotiated the major unresolved issues. A formal meeting in Washington, D.C. culminated with PLO Chairman Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Rabin shaking hands and signing the agreement. The Intifada came to an end. In 1994, Jordan signed a peace treaty with Israel, the second Arab state to do so. New talks and an interim agreement, called Oslo II, took place. Israel agreed to withdraw from parts of the West Bank and to expand Palestinian self-rule through administrative areas. The plan was to reach a final agreement in 1996. But in 1995, Yitzhak Rabin, Israel's prime minister, was assassinated by an Israeli who opposed Rabin's steps toward peace. Israelis condemned the murder and mourned the loss of the prime minister. In July 2000, after an increase in Palestinian terrorist attacks in Israel, U.S. President Bill Clinton met with Chairman Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak at Camp David. The talks failed. According to President Clinton, Arafat made no counteroffer after rejecting Israel's proposal as insufficient. Later that year, former Israeli General Ariel Sharon visited the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, a site that is holy to both Jews and Muslims. Following Sharon's visit, the Palestinians began another intifada. The second intifada was more violent than the first. Palestinians viewed Sharon's visit as a provocation. Israelis viewed it as an excuse for violence, which had started before the visit. While the first intifada largely took place in the West Bank, during the second intifada, most attacks took place in Israel, aimed at restaurants, buses, and nightclubs. Promising greater security for Israelis, Ariel Sharon was elected prime minister. Responding to the attacks, Israel commenced military operations in the West Bank. It also started construction of a security barrier, which roughly follows the Green Line between Israel and the West Bank. The vast majority of the barrier is made up of chain-link fence. In some built-up areas, it is a concrete wall. Palestinians charged that the barrier veered from the Green Line into the West Bank, dividing their land and making their lives more difficult. Israel contends that the barrier can be removed as part of a peace agreement. The construction of the barrier prevented most suicide attacks within Israel, saving many lives and effectively ending the Second Intifada. 1,000 Israelis, mostly civilians, were killed. Thousands more were maimed or wounded. There were several thousand Palestinian casualties. About a third of those were civilians. In 2005, led by Prime Minister Sharon, Israel decided on a new course to disengage from Gaza by removing all Israeli civilians and soldiers living there and handing over control to the Palestinians. After the withdrawal, Hamas, a political party and terrorist group that aims to destroy Israel, won the 2006 elections in Gaza, taking over the government and killing and imprisoning hundreds of political rivals. Hamas also escalated attacks, firing hundreds of rockets and mortars into Israel. Israel's military responded to stop the attacks and protect its citizens. This led to 3 more wars between Hamas and Israel from 2008 to 2014. Meanwhile, the issues of peace, sovereignty, refugees, and security remain unresolved, and Israeli and Palestinian civilians continue to suffer. Is the situation hopeless, or is there a way out? Can Palestinians and Israelis reach a peace agreement? And what needs to happen to get there? We'll talk about that next time.